Hello everyone, joined here today by John Kenny from Cheshunt Counselling.
Hi.
Hello John, how are we doing? You okay?
Well, thank you.
Thanks for inviting us over to come and speak to you and tell us a little bit about yourself maybe, John.
No, thanks for as well for agreeing to have me on to
Yeah.
be interviewed. So I am the owner of Cheshunt Counselling. I also have my own coaching business where I help people to work on relationships, mostly the relationship they've got with themselves. But Cheshunt Counselling is a non-for-profit organisation, so we provide low-cost therapy. We have a full fee service, but we predominantly want to provide a low-cost service for those that can't afford counselling, psychotherapy treatments such as CBT and stuff as well.
Okay. So if we strip it back, you've been in this space for
18 years.
18 years now, yeah? And is that what you've always done, or?
No, I was a firefighter in London before.
Okay.
Before this, I was a PT before that, an insurance underwriter before that, and then I just kind of worked in retail and stuff because I used to run for Great Britain when I was younger. So I needed a job which was quite flexible and allowed me to train but sometimes you get last minute call-ups to go on international meets and stuff, so I had a job. I used to try and find jobs that would allow me just to disappear at the drop of a hat.
So you've just listed that, and all of a sudden I've got about 500 questions I want to ask you.
We could be all
so
day.
where should we start from? Well, one of the things that caught my attention in that, tell me a little bit about your GB running then. What was that?
So when I was young, teenager, I wanted to be an 800 metre runner, so I went along to my local athletics club where I grew up.
And where was that?
That was in Ilford.
In Ilford, okay.
Yeah, in Essex.
Yeah.
And they chucked me into 200 metres, I think it was at the time. I was only about 16, and said, "Oh, we need someone to do the 200 for us. Can you just do our B string run?" And I got like a national standard for the time for the 200. So they said, "Oh, can you do the 100 for us later on?" And they said, "We think you need to scrap the idea of becoming an 800 metre and concentrate on sprinting." So then they arranged for me to have a coach and stuff, and then I kind of took up sprinting from there. I got a silver medal at the European Juniors, and then had a few senior vests before I kind of.
So around what age would this? Which era?
What year was this? Is kind of Linford Christie, John Regis type.
So you were in that.
Yeah, I was around that cohort, Colin Jackson, that type of time. Yeah.
And how was that? That would have been around 90s, if I'm.
Early 90s, yeah, late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
So the 800. So if I'm correct in saying it, I'm going off track here, but the 800, that would have been, you'd have been inspired by Ovett and Cram, and they would have been your inspiration, no doubt.
And we had a really a lot of world class, which we've got at the moment actually. Which is,
with Josh Kerr, right, running the miles at the moment.
Yeah, Patterson, all that kind of people. But that's what I wanted to do because of Co and Ovett and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't to be. But found my niche in sprinting instead. Did
some other bits you said?
Yeah, so
firefighter at one stage.
Yes, I was in the London Fire Brigade for 12 and a bit years. Yeah, based in Edmonton.
That must have been.
Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't really for me though. I don't think I really wanted to do it right from the start. But I've always been in helping professions. Always been in service professions, like retail, then PT. The insurance work I did was kind of people facing as well. So I guess when going into the fire brigade was another kind of service providing role, and then now what I do is very much a service providing role too.
I was going to say, if you look at the firefighting, you must have seen some tragic events. And
absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I trained. But I did train as a therapist while I was in the brigade, and you know, it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, as far as offering some services to them once I qualified. But that's when I started Cheshunt Counselling and kind of went from there.
And what inspired you to become a counsellor, therapist? What was the lead up to it? So
I've always been interested in psychotherapy per se, but what really got my interest is one of my little forays as well was into the world of teaching. I went to Australia when I was in my late 20s and I wanted to emigrate over there, so I left my job, sold my flat and everything where I was living at the time, and went to university to train to be a teacher. Really didn't like the teaching, but part of that was doing an introduction to psychology and counselling, kind of working with the kids and stuff, and it really kind of piqued my interest. So when I decided that I didn't really want to stay in the fire service and I was going to look for something else to do, I thought I'll try counselling, because it's something I was always really interested in. And I always remember back when I was sort of 16 and 17, people at school and stuff would always come and tell me their problems and stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I'm just like a natural kind of person to be able to, for people to talk to.
Yeah.
So when I did a counselling, the next level up counselling skills course to what I did at university, and it just kind of went from there, really.
Okay. So with counsellors, do they specialise in areas, or, I mean, because I've seen here you life coach and then couples therapist.
Yeah. So kind of my kind of real passion and expert area is relationships.
Okay.
So that would be if people came with any kind of relational issues, that would be my real thing that I enjoy working with, and probably can have the most experience, because I've always had terrible relationships of my own, so I can speak coming from an experiential place as well as something that I've studied. And so my coaching is based on kind of how you become the best version of yourself in order to attract and create the best relationships in your life.
Yeah.
Other people might specialise in sort of grief counselling, substance abuse. One of my colleagues here, Jane at Cheshunt Counselling, she's a child therapist, so she works with child and adolescents. So yeah, we all have our own sort of specialisms. There are some counsellors that just kind of do all across the board type therapy, which I do, but you know, my real passion is the relational stuff.
So what's interpersonal relationship counselling? How does that maybe differ from?
That's kind of something I made up. So it's so my coaching approach now is called therapeutic coaching. So I kind of mould the coaching in with the therapy, because sometimes it's really hard for people to come and have coaching and move forward in their lives if they don't understand what the problems are, and then they might need to process some of the stuff that's holding them back. The interpersonal counselling stuff, which is stuff that I kind of thought of years ago, it was that idea that actually understanding how you are within yourself and how that impacts on everything that goes on around you.
Okay. Here today primarily to talk about Cheshunt Counselling, right? So tell us about how Cheshunt Counselling might have come about and why.
Okay. So when I did my training, it's really hard to get placements for your courses. So we were very lucky that I lived next door to a GP surgery in Enfield, and we approached them and they said, would you like to do some in-house therapy? So our college then set up a placement for us right next door to where I live, so that's really handy. When I qualified, one of the people that was on my training course, we decided to rent this room here in Cheshunt and start Cheshunt Counselling.
Right.
Because we knew there wasn't really a huge amount of jobs out there where you could apply for work. We both had other jobs, so it would just have been kind of a thing to kind of get us started. So we decided to start Cheshunt Counselling back in 2008. And then in 2012, I think it was, we started to offer the low-cost service because they stopped offering counselling through the GPs in this area. I did actually work for the company that offered the counselling services, so we knew that they'd been withdrawn. So that's when we started up. So what we decided to do was something similar to what we'd set up at the GP surgery, was to offer placements to students. So we started to contact all the local colleges and said, we're starting this placement opportunity for people. We're going to start offering people low cost therapy services, so people basically make a contribution to their therapy, what they can afford on a weekly basis. We have our volunteers that come in, they see the clients, and then the money gets put back into Cheshunt Counselling because we're a non-for-profit, which just goes to pay the rental for the rooms, marketing, insurances and stuff like that.
So primarily students will...
Mostly students. We do have some people that are looking for accreditation, so if you want to be accredited to your governing body, you need a certain amount of hours. I think it's like 400 hours, so people come to us and sort of do volunteering work for us so they can build their hours up that they maybe can't get in their private practice.
What kind of issues might people be facing, John, when they reach out to a Cheshunt Counselling? If anyone's watching, listening to this today and they might have something going on, who would you say reach out?
Everybody, really, whatever issues you've got. So it's right across the board. So we have people coming for grief counselling, anxiety, depression, relationships, stuff, trauma from their past that they've never been able to process. They're kind of stuck maybe where they are right now, or some people just need that they don't have a space, so I don't know how easy it is for some people to be able to talk to their family, strangers, friends, whatever, but if they've got a professional person, they can come, and this space is just for them to be able to offload and talk about their week and get stuff off their chest which maybe they don't have outside of that. And people can just use this space to express how they're feeling, get someone to kind of understand them, someone that's not going to judge them, is going to hold them in some positive regard and listen to what they've got to say. I think it's Judge Judy says you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Okay.
Because people don't have a tendency to really, really listen to what you've got to say. So that's one of the things that people could come for.
And how much is a minimal contribution again?
Yeah, so we just ask people what they can afford to pay for a weekly session, but our minimal charge is £10.
£10, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so we don't charge more than 30. So if people come and they can pay 30, they pay 30. If they can't, they'll pay somewhere in between.
And typically, if someone was coming for a counselling session that wasn't a not-for-profit,
yeah. So
how much would someone be paying?
They're £60.
£60. So big saving there for someone who,
yeah.
and especially in this day and age, a lot of people bottle things up, don't they? They don't talk.
Absolutely. We know there's a mental health crisis going on. So to have the service that we've got is, I think, invaluable to the people in the local area. But because we offer online, we've actually got clients dotted all over the country. So.
And do people do online things as well, or is it primarily come face to face?
Primarily, it's face to face.
Yeah.
My coaching business is predominantly online, but the therapy is mostly face to face.
Okay. What's the biggest misconception people might have about counselling?
I think, again, I'm not sure if it's the same as it was before. I think there's a lot of thoughts around being weak, that if you can't cope with things on your own, that you have to go and see someone to talk about your problems in some way. There's something wrong with you and your inability to cope with life. But like I said, counselling can just be a space for you to be able to talk. So I think the misconception is that, people are going to analyse you, and also there may be, again, still a misconception that you have to look at your past. You have to really explore all the things that have troubled you before in order for you to be able to move on, and that's not always the case. You don't have to go into huge amounts of depths about your upbringing and everything else if you don't really feel like it's something you want to do.
Yeah.
It might be necessary, but it might not be. It might be that you can just sit in the moment with how you feel now, and that just giving you that space can help you to move forward.
Okay. How many sessions does a typical person maybe have, need to have, should have?
We don't do shoulds.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I think I can't. Can I swear on this video? I won't swear. I'll give you a line actually that one of the kind of coaches that I've followed for years, Tony Robbins, says this is that people go around all shoulding all over themselves, because should is an expectation. It's an expectation that either is imposed upon us by something or someone else, or we place on ourselves. So people come for as long as they need to, really. There isn't a defined amount of sessions that people can come for, or will come for, but some people might come for half a dozen sessions and that's all they need. Some people might come for 2 or 3 years, because it's not just addressing what's going on in your life, it's the ongoing support and the ongoing space that you can have to be able to keep on top of things.
So you mentioned Tony Robbins there.
Yeah.
Big motivational speaker, and
absolutely,
yeah. You've read a few of his.
I've been to see him actually live.
I went
to the Unleash Your Power Within a few years ago, which is like a 4-day.
Because he wrote the book, was it Awaken the Giant Within? Was it? I think
and I'm not your guru, the documentary. I mean, a lot of the stuff he does is great. Some of the stuff he does not so great.
Where did you go and see him, in the States?
No, it was at the Excel, I think, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
I bet it was a packed room there.
It was. There were about 10,000 people in there.
Yeah,
it was like it felt like a concert.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was so much energy in there, and you came out. You were standing on your feet for like 10 or 12 hours a day, but you didn't get tired.
What was he? Was he on? It was on for the whole day.
Yeah. It started about 12 o'clock and went through to like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening. I think even the firewalk, you didn't do your firewalk until nearly midnight.
Wow.
You know, it was quite intense.
Okay. And you've written a book.
I have written a book, yes.
What?
It's just up there, actually. If you don't know if you can see it in your camera.
Okay.
The People Program.
The People Program.
Yeah. So it's like
what inspired that?
It's a self-help. So I did a speaking training about 10 years ago, and in that you had to kind of put something together on that course to talk about. And they were teaching you how to put things together. And one of the thing that I came out with, which was my kind of signature talk, was called the People Program.
Okay.
And it's like a self-development coaching program. So there's like a 6-part, so either P, the E, the O, and everything. They stand for something. But yeah, so the first half of the book is kind of my life story in a way. So how I developed my own sense of self. So it's actually called the People Program: How to Overcome Your Blocks to sort of Success, which is around self-sabotage. Yeah. So why you might have developed a mindset that means that you don't do what's right for you. So the first half of the book is my journey and how I learned to self-sabotage, and then the back half of the book has got case studies and exercises you can do to kind of understand your own journey and then what you're doing, which might stop you achieving your success that you want in life.
Okay. What inspired you to write it?
Just really because of because I put the program together, and I just sat there one day and I thought, it would be good to kind of not just try and get people to do a coaching program, but for those maybe again something that people can't afford. You know, if they can't afford to come for personal coaching and pay for sort of 3 months of working through a coaching program or something, it was okay. Well, this is a good entry into like a self-development side of things. So
who was it written for? Who's the ideal person that should maybe be looking at this book? And
I think if people feel like they're stuck in life or stuck in a certain situation, or they recognise that there's patterns of their behaviour, because one of the P's is patterns, and it's about understanding how you work, what you think and how you feel, and then what that drives you to do or what drives you not to do. So anybody that feels like they either keep getting to a certain level in life, in whatever it is, work, relationships or whatever, and then they stop, or they don't know what the next step is, or they hold themselves back, or they might do something that they're recognising is actually just sabotaging that for themselves. So for instance, they might get involved in a relationship with somebody, and then after a little bout of time they might cheat on someone, or they might lose interest, or they might do something or start becoming a bit difficult to deal with, and they know that maybe it's them that's causing the problems in their own lives, and how they can understand what it is they're doing and why they're doing it.
What might sort of some typical behaviours be that trigger certain things, would you say?
Yeah, so one of them, if it's around relationships, generally it could be like an attachment style. So some people have what's called an insecure attachment, and they learn to do relationships in a certain way. So when relationships aren't going the certain way that they believe they should, or if they believe the relationships are going exactly the way that they should, but they don't know how to deal with that relationship, something will trigger inside of them, which then means they'll start to act out their attachment style. So it could be that they'll start to back off, or it could become extra jealous or extra clingy or something. So that's one of the things you could be doing. Procrastination, lack of motivation to do things. If you recognise that in yourself, it could be that you've reached a certain point and you're now holding yourself back. There's a resistance for you to kind of go through what you need to go through in order to get what you want. And that's generally because you hold on to a certain sense of belief about yourself. So you could feel like you're unworthy. My core belief as I was growing up kind of was that I was never going to amount to anything. So take my athletics, for instance. I probably could have been a much better athlete. But whenever I was running really, really well, I would go out clubbing, I'd start dating, I'd get an injury or something like that.
There's a value to things like that too, right? Having a bit of fun.
Yeah, but it wasn't ever going to get me to where I wanted to be as an athlete, because I would get drunk and then I wouldn't go training, and then I'd be wiped out for a few days. And so, you know, you need to kind of really be honed to the kind of higher physical perfection as much as you can if you really want to be a world-class athlete. But my brain, for some reason or another, which I know now, would stop me from doing that.
So if we look at John Kenny,
Mm.
you were British
I was the number one junior.
number one junior,
Yeah.
and then when you
I think I got about ninth in the UK.
ninth in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the margins are fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that distance is sometimes.
0.20 of.
So my personal best for 100 is just under a second outside the world record, but Usain Bolt was exceptional. So
Yeah.
back in the day, it was probably just about half a second.
Half a
outside the world
second, yeah.
record.
I was going to ask,
Which
right,
puts you nowhere, basically.
no, but I'm just saying for anyone that might be listening or watching, what would the Linford Christie have had that made him just maybe that bit closer to the world record? What would he have had that maybe John Kenny didn't
Maybe a
have?
bit more talent, I don't know, but
More talent, okay.
better genetics, but also I would imagine much more dedication and the right team behind him. He would have had much more knowledge about how to keep his body in peak. I mean, we'd go to sort of big meetings and we'd see him there, and we'd be kind of strolling around after the races and stuff, and he'd be on a massage bed getting a rub down and stuff like that. So didn't even think that we would need something like that. You know, prevention was always better than cure. But whereas back when I was running again, I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and it was you got an injury, you got it treated, then you got an injury, you got it treated. You didn't do anything really.
Yeah.
I never did anything to stop the injuries in the first place.
Okay. And if you could give everyone one piece of advice to help them become the best version of themselves, what would that be?
To become the best version of yourself, I would say just the one thing would be self-awareness.
What if we said three things?
Okay, self-awareness, work on your emotional intelligence, so understanding your emotions and the emotions of other people. And kind of maybe, I would say, actually building a sense of trust in yourself. Because I think that's the holds a lot of people back is although it might sound like a strange statement, a lot of people don't trust themselves. They doubt themselves for whatever reasons that might be.
Okay. And Cheshunt Counselling, if anyone feels they want to reach out, have a couple of sessions, or they feel they might be struggling with something.
Yeah, so like I said
Where
earlier,
can they find you?
It's on a self-referral basis. Just go to the website, cheshuntcounselling.com. Just send us a contact message, just send us an email, give us a call. We'll book you in for an assessment. But for the low-cost service, we'll get you in for an assessment to see what you want to talk about, and then we'll allocate you a therapist. If it's something you can afford to pay for yourself, or if we do also do the life coaching, I do the life coaching here, we do the couples therapy. So if you want to reach out again, just send us an email, give us a call. We'll get you in and see if we can help.
And again, for the life coaching, who's a typical person that...
Yeah, again, I would say if people don't know which direction they want to go in life, they're stuck in maybe a certain position, want some guidance around which sort of how to reach their goals, what their desires might be, and you're not really clear on what they are, how to get there. That's kind of the coaching can help you to do that.
And I like this question. I always ask it anyway. It's not on my card, but I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
On both sides of your business, so maybe on the life coaching and on the counselling, maybe tell us a couple of without the names, obviously, for GDPR purposes and whatever but tell us a couple of success stories that you're like, I'm really proud of that one.
Okay.
You're proud of a lot of them.
Yeah. But, it's something you get a real buzz from.
Yeah.
I would say on the coaching side of things, I had a client probably a couple of years ago now, who came because they were looking to understand why they kept choosing the wrong types of people to have relationships with. And they'd had therapy before, they'd had coaching before, and they had a mum who was, I can't remember exactly, she might have been an alcoholic, but she was very distant in the relationship, and she would just disappear and abandon this person when they were a child. So they were left with their dad. And all of the focus that they'd ever done around the work with themselves was around their abandonment issues with their mum. And then after a few sessions we were talking, and it came out really that a lot of the issues they were having in their intimate relationships was to do with their dad. because even though their dad was there for them, everything that they then did with their dad was always based on their dad's terms. So the time they spent with their dad was always doing their dad's hobbies or what he was interested in, or she was very restricted about what she did with him, but she idolised her dad because he didn't abandon her and looked after her and on, wasn't there? But what she was then deciding was, when it was going into the relationship side of things, she's done a lot of work on the abandonment side of things with her mum and the impacts that had, but she'd never done anything about taking control of what she wanted in relationships, because she felt like she had to give herself over to the relationship in a way,
Right.
but it was never going to be on her terms. And it was only when she actually realised that she had the autonomy to be able to choose somebody that actually thought of her for a change rather than her having to think of them all the time, was then she was able to then move forward and find a healthy relationship. That's kind of the coaching side of things.
And that's not unlocked. That's not unlocked in 20 minutes, is it?
That was about 3 or 4 sessions.
I was going to say, that's hours, right? That's not 20 minutes. Oh, I'm unlocking like.
To be honest with you, though, I actually have had, because with the coaching, I offer like a 30-minute chat.
Yeah.
Before you decide whether it's the right thing for you. I've actually worked with a person, and I can't remember now because this was, about 10 years ago maybe. And we were having just the chat, and I said something to her about her relationships, and she went, "Well, I've been in therapy for 20 years." She said, "No one's ever picked up on that before." And so it can because she never worked with me. She never came on board to work with me, even though I kind of gave her this. We kind of had to this revelation about what was going on in life. She decided not to work with me, but she said that makes so much sense. And I think she kind of just, once that clicked, I don't know, but maybe she just thought, I know what to do now.
Yeah.
And took that away and was able to move forward.
That was on the coaching side.
That was
of the
coaching as
counselling.
well, yeah. That was on the coaching side of things.
Any other success stories that you want to, big ones that you want to share that you like?
I mean, like you said, there's been so many people. I actually have had, and this is going to sound quite big-headed, but actually
That's what the platform's for.
said I was their saviour once.
Okay.
Because they came with these huge issues from their childhood, and we were seeing each other maybe for 6 months or so it's quite a long period of time, but her helping to understand where she was coming from and how those issues had affected her, and then the work that we did together to help her to move forward. When I actually met them outside, I met her and her partner out in the street once, and he said, "She calls you her saviour."
Right, okay, there you go.
Because you help us to turn her life around.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of goosebumps, hair stand up on
Really
end.
self-satisfying.
But also being big-headed, I also promote that with people as well, to cheer themselves.
Yeah.
To be proud of what they've achieved, because especially in the UK, I think we're taught not to big ourselves up. We're not like the Americans where we whoop everywhere, are we?
Everything's great.
Yeah, but I think we have a tendency to downplay our achievements, and it's seen maybe as a bit arrogant and a bit big-headed to shout about your successes. But I think everybody needs to be proud of themselves and acknowledge what they do well.
And that's the thing with counselling, isn't it? Like, some people, I'm talking from some experience in certain scenarios, and people generally, you find it easier to talk to a stranger sometimes than one of your closest, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a really close friend or a really close cousin or relative or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
But you find it just easier to
unload. Some people say is that it's such a surprise that they come in and they can't believe what they tell you especially if it's like a first session of 50 minutes and people just spill everything that's going on in their lives. I always thank people for sharing with me, because it's such a privilege for people to come in and just share their innermost selves in this environment. But yeah, some people will just come and they go, "Well, I'm so surprised I was able to." I don't usually talk, but they can sit there and just loosen something up or free something up inside of them, that they're able to just express themselves.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I think it's just maybe having that space to know that they can, and that I'm not going to judge them. No one's going to sit here and go, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that," or give an opinion, or shout them down, or not believe them, or whatever it is. Because whatever you say to me, I take that as the truth.
Is it hard to not give an opinion? When you hear the story, like, I don't know, I mean, you've said you're basing it on a lot of your own experiences and what you've learned and what your learnings on the courses that you did and what have you not, but is it hard to not give an opinion?
Yes, sometimes, but that's not my job. Isn't to give my job's not to judge. So to give an opinion, I probably have to make a judgment, and for me not to judge. I know everybody judges in their own way, but for me to just sit there and just take everything that you say as it is, and then I don't need to form an opinion about that. In the coaching, slightly different because it's trying to be a bit more guided. Like I need to try and guide you in a certain direction. Counselling can be like that, depending on what kind of approach you're using. But it can also just be that you talk and we don't do any guidance as well. I don't give you any opinion, I don't give you any feedback really at all. Some therapists, I know people have sat there and goes, "You're not one of those therapists that just nods and goes, right." And I go, "No, that doesn't stop me."
Okay.
But there are people, and that does work for some people, just to just sit and have space and talk, and for someone just to accept what they're bringing to the sessions.
Okay. And what if there's someone watching this again who maybe aspires to be some sort of therapist or counsellor?
Yeah.
Who have you met in the past? Well, they'd be a good counsellor actually. What sort of skill sets would they possess, or traits?
People that ask questions, really. People that are interested in people, and wanting to provide or do provide a space for other people. Now that's a positive and not such a positive, because if you give too much of yourself to other people all the time, which is what I used to do, I was always a people pleaser. This is why this job is so good for me, because I can give of myself in the therapy room and in the coaching sessions, and I can learn to put boundaries in place out of them sessions so that I can fulfill my need to help people and be there for other people, which is, I still do that outside, but I have boundaries now, which I never used to have. Whereas in here, I just can be fully in the room with other people, and this is their space, and I can give my whole of myself to them. Whereas outside of that, so if you're that kind of person that loves to offer a space to other people, but you know you can't do that outside because it's not really healthy for you to do that all the time.
What does a typical boundary look like?
It's just learning to sort of say no, what's right for me, what's not right for me, and to know that for yourself. So one of the questions about what would be, what's one thing to take away is to know yourself, is to know where you need to put boundaries in place. And it isn't just about saying no, it's about thinking about, okay, is this good for me? Is this the right thing for me to be doing? If I'm going to do that, what's the reason behind that? Rather than just it being this blind obedience to, or a blind desire inside of you to say that I need to do this for everybody else because you can't manage how you feel if you don't. It's about going, okay, I want to do this. I want to be able to, this is my choice. I'm setting a boundary that I choose to do this, and I might not do this all the time, but on this occasion, I choose to do this rather than feel like I have to.
Yeah. John, it's been great. It's been great speaking to you, and if anyone feels they would like to sign up to Cheshunt Counselling, it sounds like a great initiative.
Thank you.
And something that, if, like you said, someone may be less fortunate, they haven't got 60, 70, 80 pounds an hour to spend, and but they feel they want to go and get some help, by all means, we'll have a link added that people can click on.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
No,
Thanks for your time.
No, it's been a pleasure.